Before anyone knew her name, before the lights came on and the judges looked up, there was a quiet Filipina girl standing alone behind the stage curtain, holding a dream so fragile it could break in one breath. What happens next will leave you speechless, because in just a few minutes, she will shock Simon Cowell and change her life forever. If you believe in impossible dreams and hidden talent, make sure you subscribe now, because stories like this don't come often. Her name was Emma-Sophie, and until that moment, the world had no idea who she was. She did not come from fame, money, or connections. She came from a small coastal town in the Philippines where the ocean was louder than opportunity and where dreams were often whispered instead of spoken out loud. Emma-Sophie grew up in a narrow house with thin walls, where the sound of rain hitting the tin roof felt like a lullaby and a warning at the same time. Life there was simple but heavy. Every day was about survival, and every night was about hoping tomorrow would be kinder. Her mother worked long hours sewing clothes for local markets, her fingers always sore, her eyes always tired, yet her smile never disappeared when Emma-Sophie sang. Her father had once been a fisherman, strong and proud, until an accident at sea injured his leg and took away his ability to work. After that, the house grew quieter, not because of peace, but because of worry. Music became the only place where Emma-Sophie felt free. She sang while washing dishes, sang while walking to school, sang softly when she thought no one was listening. It wasn't about attention. It was about breathing. At school, she was invisible. Not bullied, not praised, just unseen. Teachers noticed her good grades but never asked about her dreams. Classmates heard her hum sometimes, but no one imagined that her voice carried something rare. In her town, talent didn't mean much without money, and money was something her family never had. Still, every night before sleeping, Emma-Sophie imagined a stage bigger than her town, bigger than her country, a place where her voice could finally be heard without apology. The idea of auditioning for an international talent show felt impossible at first. It sounded like a fantasy meant for other people, people with managers and passports and confidence. But one evening, when the electricity went out and the house fell into darkness, her mother lit a candle and asked her to sing. As Emma-Sophie's voice filled the room, her mother cried quietly. In that moment, something changed. Her mother told her that talent was a responsibility, not just a gift, and that hiding it would be the real failure. Getting to the audition was not easy. They sold small things, borrowed money, and accepted help they were once too proud to ask for. The journey from her town to the audition city felt longer than it actually was, not because of distance but because of fear. Emma-Sophie had never been on a plane before. Her hands shook the entire time, and she kept repeating one sentence in her head. No matter what happens, I will sing like it's the last time. The audition day arrived faster than she expected. The building was massive, filled with voices from every direction. Contestants practiced, laughed nervously, some cried, some looked confident to the point of arrogance. Emma-Sophie sat quietly in a corner, holding her audition number, feeling smaller by the second. She watched people warm up with powerful voices and polished performances, and doubt began to creep in. What if she wasn't good enough? What if her dream was too big for her voice? When her number was called, her legs felt weak. Walking toward the stage felt like walking into a storm. The bright lights blinded her for a moment, and then she saw them. The judges. Simon Cowell sat in the center, arms crossed, his expression unreadable. He had seen thousands of performers, crushed many dreams, and praised only a few. Emma-Sophie had watched clips of him online, knowing his reputation, knowing how brutally honest he could be. The thought of disappointing him hurt more than the thought of failing. She introduced herself softly, her accent gentle but clear. She told them where she was from, and the room felt quieter for a second. Simon asked why she came all this way. Her answer was simple. Because singing is the only thing that makes me feel like I belong somewhere. There was no dramatic speech, no rehearsed line, just truth. When the music started, something unexpected happened. The fear didn't disappear, but it stopped controlling her. Her first note floated through the room, soft but steady. It wasn't loud. It wasn't flashy. But it was honest. The kind of voice that doesn't demand attention, yet somehow takes it anyway. The judges leaned forward slightly, not because they planned to, but because their bodies reacted before their minds did. As the song continued, her voice grew stronger, carrying emotion that couldn't be taught. Every word felt lived in, like she wasn't just singing the song but remembering something painful and beautiful at the same time. The audience grew silent. Even Simon's expression began to change, though he didn't realize it yet. This was not just another audition. This was something else. Halfway through the performance, Emma-Sophie closed her eyes. For a brief moment, she wasn't on a stage. She was back in her small house, singing by candlelight, her mother listening, her father smiling despite the pain. That memory fueled her voice, pushing it higher, deeper, fuller. When she reached the emotional peak of the song, a few people in the audience wiped their eyes. Then came the twist no one expected. The music suddenly cut out due to a technical issue. The room gasped. For a split second, panic flashed across Emma-Sophie's face. This was the moment where many auditions ended in disaster. But instead of stopping, she kept singing. No microphone, no music, just her voice filling the room, raw and unprotected. That moment changed everything. Her unamplified voice echoed through the hall, imperfect but powerful. It wasn't about perfection anymore. It was about courage. Simon uncrossed his arms. One of the judges whispered something under their breath. The audience leaned in as if afraid to break the spell. Emma-Sophie sang until the final note faded into silence, and when it did, there was a pause so heavy it felt like time stopped. Then the room exploded in applause. Emma-Sophie stood there, stunned, her chest rising and falling rapidly, tears threatening to fall but refusing to come yet. She looked at the judges, unsure of what would happen next. This was the moment that could lift her up or break her heart. Simon leaned forward and took a breath. And that was when everyone realized something extraordinary was about to happen. The applause slowly faded, but the energy in the room did not disappear. It stayed suspended in the air, heavy and electric, as Emma-Sophie stood frozen on the stage. Her hands trembled slightly, not from fear anymore, but from release. She had given everything she had, and now there was nothing left to protect her. She looked at the judges, waiting for words that could either validate years of struggle or quietly close the door on her biggest dream. Simon Cowell was silent longer than usual. He stared at Emma-Sophie, not with his typical critical glare, but with curiosity, almost disbelief. Finally, he spoke, and his voice was calm, which somehow made it more intense. He said that auditions like this are rare, not because of the voice alone, but because of the honesty behind it. He admitted that when she first walked out, he didn't expect much, and the audience reacted softly, some nodding in agreement, understanding how often talent is underestimated by appearance. Then Simon paused again, and the room leaned forward with him. He said something that no one expected. He said that when the music cut out, he thought the audition was over. But instead, Emma-Sophie showed who she really was. He explained that stripping away the music stripped away fear, and what remained was courage. He said her voice didn't need production, effects, or perfection. It carried truth, and truth is something you cannot fake. The other judges followed, each clearly moved. One judge talked about how Emma-Sophie's voice felt like a story rather than a performance, as if she invited everyone into her life for a few minutes. Another judge said that the moment she continued singing without music was the moment the entire room fell in love with her. They all agreed on one thing. This was not just an audition. This was the beginning of something bigger. Emma-Sophie nodded quietly as they spoke, trying to stay composed, but her eyes were glassy. She wasn't used to being seen like this. For most of her life, she had been overlooked, underestimated, and unheard. Standing there now, being praised on an international stage, felt unreal, like a dream she was afraid to wake up from. Then came the votes. One by one, the judges said yes. Each yes felt like a step closer to a life she had only imagined. When the final yes was given, the audience erupted again, louder than before. Emma-Sophie covered her mouth, tears finally falling as she whispered thank you over and over. She walked off the stage in shock, barely aware of the cameras following her, barely able to process that she had just made it through. Backstage, she collapsed into a chair, overwhelmed. A producer handed her water, another congratulated her, but everything sounded distant. Her phone vibrated. A message from her mother. I heard you singing even though I couldn't hear you. I felt it. Emma-Sophie cried harder than before, clutching the phone like it was the most valuable thing she owned. As the competition continued, Emma-Sophie faced new challenges. The next rounds were tougher, the performers more polished, the pressure heavier. Social media began talking about her. Clips of her audition spread fast. People praised her raw emotion, her courage, her story. But with attention came doubt. Some questioned whether she could maintain that level. Others said her audition was a one-time moment. She saw the comments late at night, alone in her hotel room. For the first time since arriving, fear returned. What if they were right? What if she couldn't do it again? She thought about quitting, about going home with dignity rather than risking failure in front of millions. That night, she called her father. He listened quietly, then reminded her of who she was before the stage, before the judges, before the applause. He told her that success was never about winning, but about being brave enough to stand up again. In the next performance, Emma-Sophie chose a risky song, one that demanded control, range, and emotional depth. As she walked on stage, she felt the weight of expectations. The audience recognized her now. Simon watched closely. This was the moment that would prove whether she was a real contender or just a viral moment. She began softly, carefully, building the song layer by layer. Her voice wavered once, just for a second, and the room tensed. But instead of panicking, she leaned into it, letting vulnerability guide her. The song grew stronger, and so did she. When she reached the final note, the audience stood before it even ended. Simon stood too. After the performance, Simon said something that stunned everyone. He said he remembered the first time he realized music could change lives, and Emma-Sophie's performance reminded him of that feeling. He admitted that she surprised him again, not by being perfect, but by being real under pressure. He said that growth like that is rare, and it's what makes a true artist. Week after week, Emma-Sophie continued. She stumbled once, recovered twice, and learned more about herself than she ever had before. She made it to the live shows, then to the semifinals. Each performance revealed a different side of her. Strength, softness, resilience. The audience connected with her story, not just because she was talented, but because she felt like someone they knew, someone who represented quiet determination. Then came the biggest twist of all. Before the final performance, Emma-Sophie was told she would be singing an original song. She had never shared her own writing publicly before. The song was about home, about leaving without forgetting, about loving people who may never see the stage you stand on. Writing it brought back pain, gratitude, and fear all at once. On the night of the final, the theater was packed. Millions watched from home. Emma-Sophie walked onto the stage, took a deep breath, and began. The song started simple, almost fragile, just like her journey. As she sang, images of her life played behind her. The small house, the ocean, the candlelight. The audience listened in complete silence. When the final note faded, no one moved. Then Simon pressed the golden buzzer. The sound exploded through the room, gold confetti falling as the audience screamed. Emma-Sophie dropped to her knees, overwhelmed, crying openly as the judges rushed the stage. Simon hugged her and said that this was not just about winning a show, but about reminding people why music matters. He told her that she didn't just shock him. She moved him. That moment changed everything. Emma-Sophie's life transformed overnight. Opportunities came pouring in, but she never forgot where she started. In interviews, she spoke about her family, her town, and the quiet nights that shaped her voice. She used her platform to support young artists who felt invisible, reminding them that being unseen does not mean being unworthy. Emma-Sophie did not just become a singer. She became a symbol of quiet courage. A reminder that sometimes the most powerful voices are the ones that almost never get heard. And now, as you finish watching this story, remember this. Somewhere, right now, someone is singing quietly, not knowing their life could change in a single moment.